To have passion in life is everything.
What's your Everest?
Oh,
Is it
yeah.
that 200-inch buck?
They just look so impressive when they're wide.
Especially running away.
Welcome to this week's episode of Eastmans Elevated.
It's like a think tank for outdoor activity.
Sounds exactly like my hunting. Just always thinking about it, always trying to evolve it and make it better.
Here's your host, Brian Barney.
Hey, what's happening, guys? Got a brand new Eastmans Elevated for you. So today on the podcast, I have on Jason Bast. So Jason's a fellow outdoorsman, and on the podcast, we get talking about this adventure hunt he had last season up in Northwest Territories for Dalls sheep. We also get talking about elk, but Jason is the owner of Forever Barnwood. Jason's a military veteran, company's veteran-owned, and he started this company called Forever Barnwood. And basically, he takes new wood and makes it look like old reclaimed barnwood. Reclaimed barnwood is such a look that's going on right now out west, but really everywhere. And it's tough to get the same lot or same matching wood. He's able to create this barnwood look at a fraction of the cost with unlimited quantities. So this stuff is great. He's got a great mill that he's using where he's able to do this skip-sawn look in it. Also, he'll do a raised grain. So the raised grain looks like it's been sitting out in an old barn for 100 years. It's just an amazing product that he's absolutely dialed on. And he has products for every part of your house. So he has the floors, which I want to try in my next house. The floors just look amazing. He has box beams. He has posts. He has shiplap. He does custom doors with custom jambs that are just beautiful. And the craftsmanship is really high quality. So I'm going to use this for Barney construction on a bunch of the houses that I'm working on. It's a great look, and it's a great Western look, but really it's going on over, throughout the entire nation right now. So if you're building a new house, this stuff has a great price point. Make sure to check them out and everything they offer at Forever Barnwood. And thanks so much to Jason for his support of the podcast. I really appreciate it and really enjoyed this podcast, and I think you guys will too. I also want to thank Zamberlan Boots. Zamberlan is a great company that puts the highest quality products and craftsmanship into their shoes and boots. So I've been amazed by this company. I've been using them the last few years, and I just love what they're producing. So I really like lightweight footwear, but it's built durable, and it's built with Vibram soles that really cut into the hillside for side hilling and for rough and rugged terrain. So I really like the 320 Trail Light, which is a low-cut boot. It comes in at under 3 pounds per pair. They're absolutely awesome for backpack hunting. I also really like their hunting shoes. So they built it so it feels like a tennis shoe, but it's a little bit more burly and durable. It's waterproof, so your feet don't get wet. Cactus can't poke through it, things like that. They're amazing. So used them all last season. It's the 215 Salute GTX RR. Just an amazing hunting shoe, and I really enjoyed using them. They have a bunch of different models on there for all different preferences, and I also see they've got some new models. The 166 Mamba Mid GTX. It looks like a tennis shoe, but it's a low-cut boot. Just amazing products there. So if you're in the market for new footwear, Zamberlan is absolutely the best I've ever tried. They keep their waterproof qualities. They're built with the Vibram soles, good grip, and just built durable to last. So if you're in the market for new boots, make sure to check them out at Zamberlan. And over at Eastmans, we've got some Beyond the Grid that are going to be dropping. That's the internet TV show. Make sure to check that out. We have the magazines, Eastman's Bow Hunting Journal, Eastman's Hunting Journal. If you want a promo code and a free outdoor edge knife, just plug in Elevated 321. Also, check out Eastman's Tag Hub. Right now, we're in the heart of application season, trying to figure out these states, which units to apply for, and they just do a great job at educating us on how to hunt the West or what good units are out there, what kind of opportunities are out there for the West. So I believe you can put in the promo code Brian and receive a discount on there, maybe 10% off, and you can find that at Eastman's Tag Hub. And man, with that, just getting ready here, going to make the Western Hunting Expo. That's next week, which is great. Looking forward to that show. Eastman's is going to have a booth there. Have me all set up for getting some quality recordings. So look forward to to jumping on that, and hopefully seeing some of you guys there. And yeah, other than that, just getting my wintertime training in here. I'm really looking forward to next season and quality adventures and starting to get my permits in and get my name in the hat. In fact, hopefully I win one of those expo hunts would be great. You have to get really lucky, but you never know. So putting in there, here, and everywhere, trying to plan out my adventures. It's going to be a fun year. But let's get into this podcast. It's with Jason Bast. I'm your host, Brian Barney, Eastmans Elevated. Here we go. All right, I'm live here. I got my new friend Jason from Forever Barnwood. Man, thanks so much, Jason, for the support of the podcast, and I sure am happy to be partnered with you. Like, what a great company you've created.
Well, I appreciate it, Brian. We're super excited about our new relationship with Eastmans, and you, obviously, Brandon, Guy, Ike, Mike, and Gordon. I was just telling you off the air that Gordon's probably the one that got me wanting to shoot a Dalls sheep when I was a little kid, and as you know, you can't afford to do that every year. So, no, we're super excited about this, the potential growth here, and obviously to be associated with a brand like Eastmans, and now Eastmans Elevated is just honestly, I was trying to tell the guys how big a deal that was, down at the shop, and I think they understand. So we're super grateful to you guys for taking a shot.
Man, it's so awesome. Yeah, that Gordon was a true pioneer. Can you imagine getting to explore some of that country he got to explore and look for those Dalls and like take his best buddies up there like way back in the day? It'd just be absolutely wild, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and the funny thing is when I was, getting ready for this, I watched some of those videos that are on the Eastman's website, the original Gordon footage of the Northwest Territories. And super interesting. I mean, a lot of stuff I didn't know. I mean, I had no idea that they literally essentially hired him to go take a camera into the Northwest Territories and find out what was there. But the most amazing part of that whole video, I thought, was those boots. And you probably know the guy's name, one of his buddies there that was with him, that decided he was going to get brand new boots for that trip.
I can't remember his name, but I remember the story.
Well, Gordon told him, he said, "What should I bring for boots?" And Gordon said, "Hey, whatever this is back, in the 50s. He said, just, whatever you wear to work that's comfortable, just go ahead and wear those. And they should be fine for a 3-month trip to the Northwest Territories, right? But apparently he had seen some of these really shiny, brand new Red Wing boots or whatever they were that were all, made for hunting. So he bought a brand new pair, and they've got a little part in that video where he's soaking his toes. This is after like day one. He's soaking his toes in a stream, and they're just tore apart. And then what he ended up doing was cutting the top front of the boot off. You believe that? And then wrapping it with tape. And that's how he spent the next 3 months in the Northwest Territories. I think those guys, I honestly believe those guys were way tougher than we are. And I'm speaking for myself because you're an animal, but those guys had something that I don't have for sure.
No, you're speaking from me as well. That was a different, it was a different kind of human, that generation. Like I look at my grandpa or even my dad for that matter, and what those guys had to do in the Pacific Northwest with flannel and wool and boots, and you just had to be a level tougher. Like we've got all this great gear, and I know both me and you love to adventure and love to go hard, but I just can't imagine back in the day, just there wasn't as much knowledge out there. There definitely wasn't the quality of gear, and there wasn't any safety protocols put in place. Like they were just tough men that went hard. So definitely a different generation back then. They built them guys tough, didn't they?
Well, yeah, and I think they were just used to more discomfort. Like it was, I think there was just more of it in life, and so I don't think you were ever used to being all that warm, especially when you were out in the elements. And so I think I think they were tougher. Now we've got the best gear, the best down, the best boots, and so yeah, it's those guys, and even in the construction business, which both of you and I are in, you look at some of the stuff they built and the conditions they worked in, and now we have excavators and we're project managers now, essentially.
Yeah, nail guns, and we've got a tool for everything. I can't imagine back in the day or doing it old style. And like you say, the gray dolls make things so safe nowadays, and to get up and do that high stuff and big lifting and things of that nature. Yeah, they were just animals back in the day. Just a way tougher generation for sure. And I think we're losing that. That's some of the things that that me and you, I think, are still value and still try to keep is that toughness. You know, I think it's super important. But yeah, they just a different breed back then.
Yeah, and I don't know what I'm about 10 years older than you, so my kids are way softer than I am for sure, and way softer than you. But I'm sure, you know, there's still good kids out there. But I sound like one of those old guys now that's griping about the next generation, but for sure.
Yeah, well, you just try to instill those good values and ethics, and you know, get them to value working hard. But yeah, it's tough in today's day and age. We've got like a whole new set of challenges we've got to tackle with social media and the tablets and phones and things of that nature. So a whole different element that we have to tackle. But yeah, it definitely is like lost. I always think of that saying that talks about tough times makes hard men, and then you know, hard men, you want to make a better life for your kids, which they get an easier life, and soft times makes for soft men. Like there's this saying that it sure rings true. You can sure see it in today's day and age.
Absolutely, and that's why I'm thinking that most of the kids now. I always tell my my wife that the next generation of handymen are going to be the richest guys in town, because it's amazing what your average person cannot do for themselves anymore. Even my own kids.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and there's no curiosity. Like when I was a kid, my dad, he was out changing the oil in the driveway. I wanted to know what he was doing, right? And he would show me. But I could be doing something super exciting, and my kids have no interest at all in even looking over my shoulder to see what the hell I'm up to. Consequently, you know, they don't know how to do much for themselves.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, that's it. Like today's skill set, or like the working class skill set, is lost. And you're right. Handymen are going to be the next millionaires. I really like that saying, you know, and it's still like those good values of being able to work hard, doing what you say you're going to do, like those all ring true and still get you a long ways in today's day and age, and maybe even further than in the past, where everybody was used to putting in that hard labor, that hard work. Like now it's the exception and not the rule, you know? So for guys like you and I, you know, for me, Barney Construction, for you, Forever Barnwood, like putting this hard work into that day in, day out, I think it really pays off, don't you?
Absolutely. And actually, the workday really never ends. I mean, one of the jokes I had with Brandon at Eastmans talking about you is that I wanted to find out how you got 30 hours out of a day. Because listening to you on the podcast talking about being up and getting your workout in, and then going doing the podcast, and then working, and then at the end of the day with the family. I mean, it's just, but it's true. Mm-hmm. I mean, you literally need to try and squeeze so much into a day, especially when you got a lot of irons in the fire. And we talked about that. You know, you've got the podcast now, and you've got Barney Construction, and I've got a few different businesses that I try and run. And at the end of the day, there is no end of the day, right? So
yeah, that's it. Well, we were emailing back and forth last night at 7:00 when we were both off the job sites and still operating, and then up early this morning. I had to go grab stuff up in Bozeman, my nearest town, and so, you know, I left the house at 6:30. Sent out my emails this morning. So yeah, it's It does. You have to be really productive with your time, you know, and that's about all you can do. Is you just trying to get it all in a day, you know, and be productive while you're there. And man, it's tough sometimes. Especially like construction is tough. Like just all the work that goes into it that isn't hours on the job, all the orchestrating and organizing, you know, all the phone calls and emails and text, all the paperwork and working with the banks nowadays. Like none of those hours are really figured into your labor rate, you know, and so you got to just fit all that in your extra time, which is tough. But you know, we all just just work away at it, and do the best we can.
Well, you do your paperwork after dinner, and then you. I actually, this time of year, I look forward to weekends because then you can catch up on paperwork because your phone won't ring as much. So yeah, it's a different world, and I think you're absolutely right about the fact that if you're a kid nowadays and you have a, let's just say like a farm kid's work ethic, I think you can get away. I tell my kids that nowadays it doesn't take much for you to be in the top 5% in outstanding performance or work ethic anymore, especially if you're the kind of kid that can do the physical work and not be bothered by it. I don't get much help around my house. I don't know how your girls are, but I got two boys and two girls, and if we can get them to take the garbage out without asking them, I'm pretty happy.
Without asking is the question. It seems like nothing extra is done around. Like anything you want done, it has to be stated. But my girls do a good job, and hopefully I instilled that work ethic, and it's going to get them far in life. Whether that's schooling or whether that's at their job. They seem to thrive in those environments. So I'm hoping that holds true. But yeah, that's the way it is when you're hustling and trying to make a better life for you and your family, and that's like exactly what I do with Barney Construction and the podcast and outdoor industry, and exactly what you've done with Forever Barnwood, this business that you started. Man, I am so sold on these products for these Western style homes. And man, I've looked at it. So your product, like, tell me how you started this business or how you got your start in it, and then talk about some of these products you have or the finishes on them, because they're amazing.
Well, we started in 2016. And it was really a product that was born out of necessity. Being a builder, I told you this story, but we built a model home. We try to have a home in the parade of homes, I used to anyway, every spring or every fall or both. And we had built a house for a spring parade, I believe, and back in 2010 that had a really nice let's see, was it 2000? No, it was probably 2013 or 14. Had a really nice reclaimed barnwood bar that we built in the lower level. And we got so much traffic and comments, and we actually ended up selling, I think, 3 or 4 houses off of that model. And I told you I was convinced that that bar was the reason I got at least 3 of them. And if you know anything about reclaim, which I know you do, one of the problems is that you get a batch of reclaim. It's almost like it's a very unique batch. It's from one barn in one location. It's got its own, its own characteristics that are not. There's no two alike. They're like snowflakes. So, then that's the problem. So what happened was, by the time I got around to building that house again and trying to replicate that bar, I could no longer do it. And it was just, it was a disappointment for the homeowners, obviously. And my partner in the barnwood business, Chad, I call him a wood genius because he's been in the wood business his whole life. He started out as a framer. He owned his own cabinet shop. The man knows wood. He speaks the language. He knows about all the species of wood, what it looks like, what it does, how stains work on it, how polyurethane coatings work. I mean, the guy knows everything there is to know about wood, which makes he and I a good complement for this business. But I was telling him that story, and he said, "You know what, Jay?" He goes, "There's got to be a way that we can make a product that looks like barnwood, but we make it out of brand new wood." So that's what we set out to do in 2015, and we spent our extra time, our downtime, working on this. And I would say we probably ran 5,000 board feet of wood. It was no small task. We wanted to find something that was repeatable, that was fairly easy, and also we wanted it to be able to be used in commercial, in food situations, so it couldn't have any lead, formaldehyde, any noxious smells. It couldn't have any of the stuff that real reclaimed barnwood has. And so we set off to try and find basically a chemical that would age the wood. And we worked for probably 6 months, and we had it pretty well dialed in. It did what we wanted it to do, but it was way too smelly and way too flammable, and it also wasn't compatible with a water-based coating. So we actually got some help from the local university here in Wisconsin. They had a couple of grad students who were chem majors, and they basically, it was all fresh in their head. So they took our formula and they looked at it, and they're like, oh yeah, you can take this and subtract or substitute it with this and this and this and this and this, and they literally, in the matter of a couple weeks, they took us, the rest of the 20% we needed to get there. And so we started just making some boards, and it was really cool. I mean, what our formula really does is it's not a stain. It reacts with the acids that are in white pine, and it's a trademark solution. We call it Secret Sauce. We couldn't come up with a better name, and so that stuck. But it physically changes the wood, and so we started just making boards, and some of these boards were so beautiful. I mean, it brings all the color out of the wood. It started out very simple. Our first shop was in an old auto garage in a little town in Wisconsin here called Ellsworth, and yeah, so that's kind of how it was born. And then basically, once we had a few products, we basically did it the old-fashioned way. We put them in the back of the truck, and we went around and tried to find people that thought it was as cool as we did. And I think I told you that our first trip was actually we made it. We were going out west to Colorado elk hunting.
I love that.
Yeah, and so we filled the back of Chad's truck with barn doors and barn boards and newel posts and ballisters and everything we had. And we knew we had an appointment in Des Moines, Iowa with Beiser Lumber. So that was our first stop. And of course, once you show people this product, they wanted to keep a bunch of it. So as we made stops, we had less and less barnwood. But what I had done is 2 weeks prior to that trip, I had sent an email to we picked 15, I think around 15 different businesses that we thought might be potential dealers for this product out in Colorado. And then I sent emails, and then we sent a little sample pack that we had. We just blind mailed it. We didn't know who it was going to. We just basically sent it to the address. And we got done with our meeting in Des Moines, and I said to Chad, I said, we don't have any appointments set up in Colorado. I said, we better start making some phone calls. So as we turned onto I-80, we started calling these people, and they're like, oh yeah, we have your sample box. When are you guys going to be out here? And by the time we were done, I think we had at least 10 appointments, in the Denver area all the way down to Pueblo, because we were heading down to hunt around the Spanish Peaks down there. And so yeah, and like I said, when these people, even people out in Colorado, are used to looking at snow fence, reclaimed snow fence, and barn teardowns, and a lot of different stuff out there. The beetle killed pine out there. They were blown away. And one of the things that was really appealing to those people was the fact that we had basically turned reclaimed barnwood into a commodity business. So now all of a sudden, a builder could order 500 1 by 12 by 16 foot pieces of barnwood, and it would all be really amazingly different, but at the same time they were all 1 by 12, and they were all usable, and they were all 16 feet long, and nobody had ever seen that in the reclaimed barnwood business. So it opened up a whole lot of avenues for us, not only residential, but all of a sudden these commercial jobs that were out of reach for a reclaimed barnwood type product. All of a sudden they were attainable. And one of our taglines at Barnwood is that you can build the product that you design instead of designing the project around what you can source, because that's what people used to do. How much of this can we get? Well, that's what we can do with it. So it was definitely a game changer.
Oh, a game changer. And I'm not just saying this because you're on the podcast. You guys nailed that mix. And I've seen some other mixes on the market before. I've even used some where I built like beam truss work out of fir and then used their special sauce that they had on there. And it just doesn't even hold a candle to the wind to what you guys are producing. And like you say, using this reclaim stuff, it is so expensive, and then it's just absolute crap to work with. Like trying to work with the old beams that they pull out of these places or the old boards that they pull out of these places. I've got 30% waste on these boards, you know, and after seeing your product, like it just comes totally finished. Like you want to talk about a one-in-a-kind Western home, like using this barn board. Like I've already got huge plans for it just through Barney Construction with the projects I have going. The box beams that you guys build, the shiplap, and you guys have two sides. You have a weathered side, which is raised grain, which I'm not quite sure how you guys are producing, and then also a circle sawn side. The base and case comes totally finished, and so even when I look at the price of this or the price point of it, it's just a great price point when I figure I've got to sand it or I've got to have somebody stain it and finish it for me. When your stuff shows up, it's all finished. It's ready to go on the wall, and it almost seems to have like an oil or a clear coat finish on it. Like it really is smooth to the touch. Even though it has that rough barn board look. But Jason, man, you absolutely nailed it. And it's not that gray look as much. It's more the browns that I really like in this barn board look. Just an amazing product, man. I am so pumped to start using this stuff. And I can't believe I hadn't heard about it earlier. Like nobody's told me about it. Like you talk about getting these dealers. There's a couple dealers that are up in Bozeman. I can't believe nobody ever tried to sell me this stuff or told me about it. Like I've been buying it from Montana Reclaim Lumber, and like we've got the reclaim business is huge in this area, and so every time I need something, I have to go try to outsource it from one of these places, and it's a nightmare. It's never straight. I can never get enough of it, and like you say, it's always different lots, so they never match each other. And where yours has like great. Like the boards, they just they have contrast to them, but it's all in the same vein of things. Like they tie together so well. So I can't wait. I'm already making huge plans for not only my client's house, but my personal house. And your doors are one of a kind. Like the craftsmanship and the milling and the whole deal, man. I'm just super impressed.
I appreciate that. That sheen you were referring to is actually, that's due to the resins that are in that secret sauce, which does give it a bit of a moisture protectant. Also, one thing that sets us apart from all the other products on the market is that we actually kiln dry our product down to what we call millwork specs. So the regular millwork that you would buy for your house is usually dried to between 5 and 8%. And so that's where we get our product down to, and that creates so much stability with that product that you just don't see in any of the other barnwood products that you're going to find. Those are what we call shake and bake, kiln dried, and they're anywhere between 17 and 25%. You put that barnwood in your house, depending on the climate, and that stuff will just start to twist and cup and walk. So, I mean, I really think, and I'm not here to say that we got this thing right from the start. You know, any business you start out, we learned so many lessons along the way, and we've made modifications to a lot of different things. One of the things, you know, not that the product it comes finished, but the cool thing about this product too is, let's say you order, you know, you can order a mantle from us, an 8x8 mantle, and let's say that you're in the construction business, so you know that you may not know exactly how long you want that mantle, you know, 2 months before you actually build that fireplace. As a builder, you probably do a lot of the stuff I do where, like, I'll tell people, my customers, that, you know, that fireplace is we call that a build on site or design on site. So, in other words, we'll frame the opening, get the fireplace in it, and then we'll get together with the homeowners out on the job site and let them kind of dictate how that's going to look, because doing that ahead of time, like in your planning meetings and stuff, it just doesn't work. I tell people to give me pictures, and that helps a little bit. But the nice thing about this is you can order let's just say you figured that mantle is going to be, you're going to need a 9-foot mantle. Well, you order it 9.5 feet or 10 feet. And then when you get that mantle and those people decide that they only want it to be 7.25, you can cut that mantle off, take your hand sander and sand the ends and take a quarter secret sauce, and you can literally age that mantle on site, and it'll look just like we did it in our shop. So it's super. Once your carpenters work with this product, if they've ever worked with a reclaim product, they will never go back. They will never want to go back.
That's me. I'll never go back. Yeah, and there's nothing worse. Like you talk about the shrinking and warping. There's nothing worse. Like woodwork looks so good in a house. Nothing worse than coming back to your work and seeing it shrink up and gaps open up, or seeing things twist, or even like beam work in a house that you spent so much time getting everything tight, only to watch it warp away from the wall or away from its post. It's just horrible. So having that kiln dry, that is a game changer, man. Well, you guys absolutely nailed it. Like the product sells itself. Just got to get it in people's hands like mine. Like I am sold for these new houses and for my personal house. And like, you talk of a one-of-a-kind, like I think of it as a Western home, but I think it's the overall United States. But it makes such a unique house, like to be able to use that for your base and case, or for your beams, or for your tongue and groove ceilings, or the flooring is unreal. And really the flooring price coming all finished like that is about the same price that I can get like a hickory or a walnut for. And you talk about one of a kind with the circle sawn marks in it, and it's a sanded floor, so smooth. Like man, I am sold. I can't wait to start using some of this product.
Yeah, it's and once you get into it, it's almost like a drug for people, because you start with it, you get a little bit of it, and then you want more of it. And the other thing that makes us unique too, Brian, is the fact that I think you alluded to it, but we're the only company in this market that does floor to ceiling. Essentially, you can do. I'll just rattle this off, but we've got, like I said before, dimensional lumber. We offer that in 1x4, 1x6, 1x8, 1x10, 1x12, all reversible, like you said, with the raised grain. And we actually have a special wire wheel that we designed. It's the only one in around that looks like it, and that's why it actually hogs that soft grain out of that pine, and it really mimics what you would see in a board that's been on the outside of a barn for 100 years. And actually that's why we have a reversible board, because we tell a story about an old cabin. So on the outside, where the sun and the wind and the rain and everything is beat on that cabin for 100 years, all that soft grain goes away and it leaves that raised hard grain. And then if you pull that board off and you look at the inside, all that soft grain is still there, but it still has that color of an old barn board. So that's kind of the story with the reversible board. We wanted it to be so authentic. When you get your dimensional lumber, you're going to notice that none of the ends are trimmed or cut. We want that. We've had people buy our boards just because they like the end grain. It literally looks like an old board that you just tore off a barn. So, and we can get those 1x4s, 1x6s, 1x8s, 1x10s, 1x12s up to 16 feet long. We also have 2x4, 2x6, 2x8, 2x10, 2x12, and that's also up to 16 foot. You mentioned the rustic plank flooring. This year we're actually going to add a 6.25 inch rustic oak floor, which is the only one you'll find around that's got a circle saw mark on the face. You can order circle saw mark oak, but it's usually special order and it's super expensive. We're going to hit a really nice price point with that. And then of course our pine flooring is actually, and we do oil finishes on all this. Our pine flooring is available in 6.25 and 8.25. The wall coverings you talked about, we got obviously shiplap, which you can do a nickel gap or a tight fit. We've got a new product coming out this year called Rustic Barnwood Plank, which is a 3/8 inch by 5 inch do-it-yourself plank, basically, is what we call it, because it's so easy to work with that any homeowner can take that. You can cut it with a chop saw, you can cut it with a hand saw. It's a glue or nail or both product. And that's going to either come in a nice little 4-foot box or 8-foot lengths for builders like us who like the longer stuff. We sell stair systems from newel posts to balusters to handrail to code rail. The treads and risers, we've had people use 1-inch treads and risers, which are typical. We plane them down to 3/4 inch. And then we've also had people do 2-inch risers, open risers, and then also 4x timber risers. Treads, which is a really cool look, especially out west. A lot of people like to do those see-through treads, the 4-inchers. Hollow box beams you mentioned, those we've done up to 30 feet long. We can probably do them longer than that if you can ship them. That's the problem there. In any combination of 10 inches, so 10 by 10, 4 by 10, any combination of 10 inches. The barn doors you mentioned, we not only have barn doors that hang on tracks, which we also sell the track and hardware, but we also now have that as part of that millwork package you were mentioning. We have those for interior pre-hung doors, and you can put any design that you want on those, and that all that millwork package, that does get sprayed with a urethane top coat. Only the millwork though, so it actually mimics the millwork you would have in your house, like that cabinet you've got that I can see. That's got a urethane finish on top of it. So yeah, I mean, that's really what sets us apart. The cabinet component material, so we build some, we don't build them, but we've had some people build some beautiful, in our showroom down at our office, beautiful cabinetry, a regular melamine box faced with our barnwood. We sell the face frame material and the rail, stile and rail material. So all your cabinet maker has to do is buy the components, and they can build you basically an entire barnwood set of cabinets, countertops, 2-inch countertops for bars and houses, and yeah, I mean, it's just that's basically what we didn't want to compete with, just the wall covering guys. There's a million different wall coverings out there you can put on that call themselves barnwood, but there's nobody that's doing the full gamut like us.
Yeah, and just quality of product too. Quality of those doors. Like looking at some of your photos on your website, like, gosh, you build any of those barn board doors, like they're never straight and true. Like being able to work with good quality new wood and then being able to use that coating is just an amazing process. But everything is so tight and crisp and clean with those things. Like and you're right, like the full gamut of products. Like, man, those houses that you're doing in Wisconsin, those things have to be unreal, huh? Those using just more and more of that barn board, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, we're building unlike out west, it's a little bit more of a contemporary style that's in here. We're doing a lot of white millwork, white cabinets. That's all real popular, grays, that kind of thing. But as you saw in those photos I sent you, these new houses I'm building out here, the barnwood accents are just off the chart. Whether you're talking about a coffered ceiling in a bedroom or in a kitchen, or we do a lot of floating shelves for accent walls. One thing that's really popular here is to do bathroom walls, like behind the toilet. That might be an accent wall. It could be a traditional 100-year-old shiplap wall, or it could be our new farmhouse white color, which comes in 3 different textures: weathered, circle sawn, and smooth. But the accents, I wouldn't say in those houses you got to make sure you don't overdo it. You got to walk a fine line between overdoing it. But one of the things that's super popular now are these sheds that people are building, with the living quarters in them. There's a lot of people that are going just 100% rustic with those. We've had some people that did just nothing but barnwood in those sheds. Hunting cabins, lake homes. I mean, it's just then you get into a lot more where people will just go full barnwood. But the new houses you were referring to, yeah, a lot of accents and really cool stuff. Oven hoods, you know, the hood above the cooktop. We do a lot of soffits, so like the soffit on a porch, or the soffit that is underneath the overhang on the front porch of the house. We're doing a lot of those in Barnwood. We're also doing some exterior stuff too, with corbels in the gables, and people are doing a lot of pillars, exterior pillars. They're putting an exterior protectant on it. And in 2022, we're also rolling out a Barnwood siding, which has got a standard beveled siding profile, which is going to be huge for us, and I think it's going to be a killer look. We just ran a few prototype boards last week, and we're super excited about the way those look. So that'll be something late this year that we roll out. But yeah, I mean, it's I'll tell you what, for the last 5 years, nobody's put more Barnwood in houses than I have. So I've worked with everything, which is great.
Yeah.
So I've seen it all. We're doing a lot of big commercial jobs. We did a huge hotel here in Stillwater, Minnesota, for the After Midnight group called the Crosby Hotel, and that hotel is it's like a 1920s kind of a period hotel. So very rustic. The theme is kind of a whiskey bar. And they did everything in Barnwood. And the funny thing is, when they started, there was going to be very little Barnwood. But once they saw what we did, and it's kind of a joke, it's like whenever they didn't know what to do, they would cover it with Barnwood. And it went from a little tiny project, the way it started, to something that's it's been a great relationship for us and for them, because they own a chain of bars up here in Minneapolis in the Midwest called Cowboy Jack's, and we've done a lot of work in their bars and restaurants, and that's a franchise. So we've done some franchises as far west as North Dakota for those Cowboy Jack's restaurants and bars, and yeah, it's just it's very exciting. So we are pretty much nationwide now. We ship to all 50 states, and I don't think there's a state that we don't have some Barnwood in now. And really, that's the whole idea behind a relationship with Eastman. You know, we just really wanted to hitch our wagon to a really quality brand that people recognize. And the other thing is that people trust it. And I told you this, one thing I really appreciate about you, Brian, is, you know, listening to your podcasts, you know, when you do advertise and you do talk about products that you like, you actually like them. This isn't just a My Pillow commercial. This is serious. You know, you use this stuff, the equipment, the gear, and I venture to say that if you didn't like it, you would not endorse it, no matter what. So I really appreciate that, and obviously the integrity behind Eastman, the brand, is unmatched. So
that's the great thing about Eastman's, that, you know, that we have to look and use and touch all products before we'll back it with the Eastman's name, for sure, to make sure that it's something that we'll use and something that we believe in. And that's the best marketing you can get, and the best relationship you can get. So yeah, man, I'm just absolutely sold. Like out west here, our homes, we're using so much of this barn board look, and I'm just amazed I haven't come across your product otherwise. But if you guys are looking for a one-of-a-kind unique place, and a lot of this barn board is going on our higher-end homes, but now it's something that even us working class can afford and have that look. And out west, it's just so popular right now with everything that you mentioned, from beams to flooring to cabinets to trim. But you can really have a unique one-of-a-kind house just by using your products, and it's affordable. It actually, you know, you can compare it right to the same products that I'm using to finish these houses now. And we are seeing a bit of that contemporary look as well, but a lot more of that Western style finish. But that barn board fits into both of them. And it's actually in a contemporary house with a bunch of white trim and white walls and things. It really makes that barn board stand out. So yeah, I can't wait to continue this relationship and to use it through Barney Construction as well. This is just really going to be cool to be able to offer this to my clients. So if you guys are interested, make sure to go check out the website. He's got a bunch of pictures on there, bunch of products. And just like he stated, they're shipping direct now. You can get direct pricing. I know I'm going to be using a bunch of it in the future, but yeah, I just couldn't be happier about the relationship. And especially like so much in common with you, Jason, like both being carpenters and owning our own construction business, working with these products all the time, all the way to like hunting. And I really respect, and like I think it's really neat that you guys at Forever Barnwood could choose anybody to advertise through, and you put your money behind like a product that you like and behind a company that you like. You listen to the podcast, get the magazine, watch the videos, a fan of Eastman's, and then want to partner with us. And so yeah, I just want to grow this relationship. But again, I just think it's so great that you put your money behind products and companies that you believe in, and same with me. I just can't wait to use these in some of my houses, and I've already shipped one of my clients a bunch of your products here, and we're doing a phone conference that I believe takes place tomorrow, about these products. So we'll see how much of it he wants to use. But again, I just gave him a little bit of the drug, with giving him those samples, and the samples, you can just see the quality and the finish and the quality in the product. So I know giving him a little bit of that drug, all of a sudden I'm going to have to order truckloads of this stuff from you, for accent walls and for ceilings and for box beams and things of that nature. So, man, I'm just stoked I got to meet you and learned about the company just for my own benefit through Barney Construction, but even more so to spread the word to the audience members. So many guys are building homes or getting ready to build homes, or builders like me, and to find this product will just take your own business to another level. Like a lot of our construction business is being able to outsource quality products and having, like, I've got these mills in my back pocket where I get flooring and where I get these products that I know I can believe in, that aren't going to shrink up on me, not going to gap up. And so like, a big part of being a general contractor is like having these subcontractors and suppliers, having these contacts that then you can give to your client, and pass on to your client. And so this is definitely going to be a big one for me. So yeah, I can't wait. So like, so having this business, having the construction business, how do you ever find time to hunt?
Actually, this fall I didn't. I went
Oh
on.
no, that's not what I want to hear.
No, I did a little bit, but I actually did my bucket list hunt, and I went to the Northwest Territories this fall, and of course Canada just opened up in August, so didn't get an opportunity. I was supposed to go last year, and then COVID canceled that trip. And so we actually got a call from our outfitter up there, Stan Stevens, I want to say mid-August, and he wanted us up there September 6th if we could make it. So we didn't have much time to train, and especially my partner that I went up there with, he had even less time to train than I did. But I'll tell you what, like I said when we started this, Gordon Eastman and those early Eastman films, they really get that mountain hunting and that sheep hunting in your blood. And frankly, a Dalls sheep is really the only sheep that's within the working man's budget anymore. And your chances of drawing an actual sheep tag as a non-resident from Wisconsin anywhere out west is like winning the lottery, pretty much. So yeah, I did that, and it was, it was honestly everything I hoped it would be. The first time on a float plane, super nice camp, awesome country, accessed it via helicopter, which is nice to get you. It's such big country. It's unbelievable. And I don't know about you, Brian, but do you ever sit there at night when it's 25, 30 below zero and wonder how those animals survive? I'm kind of a weirdo. I got on my weather app on my phone, I've got Norman Wells, Northwest Territories. I've got Yellowknife, Northwest Territories plugged in there. And when it's like 20 below here, I'll just I'll go to Norman Wells and I'll see what the temperature is up there, and it's like minus 39, feels like minus 61, and I'm picturing those sheep up on one of those open hillsides looking for a patch of grass to eat. I don't know how they do it. That ram that I shot this year was 12 years old.
Wow.
And it was missing about 5 of its teeth. And I'm not sure that ram would have probably made it through this winter, but it's just incredible. These
what a hardy animal, man. That is wild, isn't it?
Yeah. How do they? I don't even know how they do it. They don't migrate. I found out, and you probably knew this, but our outfitter told us that a sheep will live its entire life within a 5-mile radius, which out there can cover a couple of, huge drainages and a couple of big mountains. But still, I had no idea that sheep were, lived their whole life in a small area like that. Summer to winter, the whole deal. But anyway, I was telling you earlier about I did shoot a sheep, and it was a real nice ram. It wasn't a giant. It was about 39 inches, which is
a giant.
Yeah, which was a great ram. And the guy that I was with, the funny thing is, we flew up there, and this was his 3rd time up there, and he wanted to shoot Dalls sheep that looked more like a bighorn. He wanted one that was not quite as long but had real good mass, and that's pretty rare. But he had seen one a few years ago when he was up there that was like that, and he wasn't able to kill it. And I think on the 4th or 5th day, we actually spotted a group of 3 rams, and we ended up hunting together because they were short guides because of COVID. So we like hunting together though, so that was not a problem. So it was one guide, and then Al and I. And we actually found a band of 3 rams, and one of them was the one I shot, and then the one that Al ended up shooting was a ram that went over 40 inches, and had massive bases, just like a bighorn. It was really amazing. I'll send you a picture sometime so you can see what they look like side by side. But we got really lucky that way. Shot those rams together. Al shot first. I shot the ram my ram right after he shot his ram, and my ram ran downhill into some brush off of a pretty good cliff that he worked his way down through the brush, and it was far enough away, and it was late enough in the afternoon that we could not get there to recover either of those animals that night. And when we got back up there in the morning, we walked in on a mother grizzly and her cub. And you know how dangerous that is. They've actually had a couple of hunters, and I believe a guide killed up there in the last 20-25 years out of this camp. You can't shoot grizzly bears in the Northwest Territories, so they get real brazen, and they have no fear of humans. And but luckily for us, the cub saw us, and the cub ran. Mother never saw us, so we boogied out of there that night, went back down to camp, called in the chopper, and they picked us up, and we actually flew back to base camp, and then came back in the next day with a couple of additional guides, and went back up the mountain, and those 2 grizzlies were still on that kill, and they had taken my ram and they had buried it, and ate the hindquarters out of it, and chewed the nose off it, of all things. So, but it was, I mean, talk about adventure. I mean, like everybody felt bad for me because I was the only one that didn't have a cape. But I thought, man, I got the best story for sure. So we went back up there. It was almost like, it reminded me of my military days. We went back up there. We were fully armed. We spread out. We took up positions, and luckily the sow and the cub ran and took off. So then I went running in there, and I unburied that thing as quick as I could, got the head cut off, and we got out of there. But yeah, what a great trip, and unbelievable country, and just it's a bucket list trip. It's not one that most people can afford to do very often, but I couldn't ask any more out of it, for sure.
Man, that's so wild. Yeah, not many people have to dig up their ram. That's so wild. But great perspective too. Way to look at it as like an adventure, and like, yeah, you don't get the cape or buried it. Maybe didn't get the sheep meat that you wanted, but it's all just part of it, And good on you, like pulling the trigger on this bucket list item. Like we only live once, and hunting sheep in Northwest Territories is like out of this world. Like just the terrain up and through there, that above timberline, like everything looks loose and the rock slides and shoots and those big basins, just giant country up there. Like everything screams adventure up there. And good for you, like pulling the trigger with a good buddy and getting up there and going and having the adventure of a lifetime up there. It had to be wild, like being able to go from Wisconsin to go to a place like that and walk those high ridge lines up and through there and be looking for white sheep. And the species itself, gosh, those beautiful wide flaring horns and big long curls. Like you said, yours was 39, which is an amazing ram. It had to be wild. Like I've just to look at them through the spotting scope to see those rams and how they work through country. And I'm like you, I don't know how they survive up there. And I'm not sure, they eat on those grass slopes up there, but it almost seems like they're living off moss and rocks up there. They live where us humans, we can only visit that place. We can't survive or live in that place or stay for an extended period of time. And we definitely couldn't be up there right now in the wintertime. So just wild to be able to visit such a pristine place like that, and then take place in a hunt up there after a ram of a lifetime. Man, it's just so wild. Same thing. I want to pull the trigger on a bucket list hunt like that for those Dalls sheep. Just absolutely amazing.
Well, I thought about you when I was up there, because I thought, boy, if a guy could shoot one of these with a bow, you're going to need more than 2 weeks, I think. I mean, it's hard to get close to those things, and the country is so tough. And that's one of the things that really struck me when I was up there, is just how far, like I'll never be that far from anything again in my life. Hundreds of miles from anything. There's no noise. There's up that far north, you don't see any planes flying over. It's like, it's the most quiet silence that you've ever experienced in your life. It's unbelievable. And then just the awe of those animals, living in, interacting with each other, the caribou up there and the sheep and the bears, and it's just there's not even many birds up there for that matter. I mean, they don't even want to have anything to do with it.
You're right. There's a feeling up there when the plane takes off or when that helicopter takes off, and you look around, like, I love where I live in Montana, and I get to look at this huge drainage, but there's houses littered across and roads and trails, but you get in some of those big basins and look at them up there, and there's no human structure. There's no human roads. There's nothing up there. It's just like you say, you'll never be that far away from something, and it is like a visceral feeling up there, like being out there in nature, like you versus those animals. And there's no guarantees, like you say, grizzly bears and the weather up there, and then steep terrain. And then dude, good job with your shooting. That is not easy to be the second shooter in line. Like sometimes guys will try to pull off the 3-2-1 shoot, which is like a huge trigger pull for both guys, and then you end up missing both. So you gave your buddy the first shot and then got on your rifle, but that's not easy to do, to be the second shooter.
We had done a lot of long range shooting, and it worked out fine. Do I wish my ram would have dropped in its tracks? Yeah, but like I said, it turned out that it was, an amazing adventure, and nothing that you can't even make it up. I could have never, foresaw that happening before it did. So,
man, that's what life's all about. Those experiences like that, like being able to go there and.
But I can't wait for that podcast after you shoot yours up there with a bow.
Oh man, yeah. Me either. I can't wait for that one either. No, I want to hunt those things so bad. I've got that same sheep fever, and you talk about drawing tags. Like I apply all over the West and have for the last 20 years and have yet to seen a sheep tag. You know, they're just tough to come by. Love to hunt a desert, love to hunt a bighorn. But like you say, that doll is something that you can save your pennies for and maybe be able to do a time or two in your lifetime, you know, which is I'm really looking forward to. I love those doll sheep. Just a beautiful animal with those white coats and flaring horns. There's just nothing like it. And I've been up to Alaska now 3 times, and there was one time that I got to glass up some sheep on some of that Brooks Range stuff that was just super cool to watch them. And then yeah, I've been invited on another guy's sheep hunt that I just want to take part in and just go have that experience. Even if I'm not the shooter, I get to go suffer with him on the mountain range, you know, and try to survive up there. And just the miles you put on up there. And like you say, how big the country is. It's just got to be a humbling feeling. And like you...
I think it took us 4 hours just to get back up there the next morning. So yeah, it's tough country. It's really tough country. And of course you're packing your camp, you know, so you got a 60 to 80 pound, you know, camp on your back the whole time. It's not for somebody that's not in pretty decent shape. I can tell you that
it's
right now.
It's not for the faint of heart,
it's
man.
a bucket list,
but
you don't want to go up there and die.
That's so true. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, though, you can't prepare yourself for it though either.
No.
That first couple days at altitude and carrying that pack, I had cramps so bad in my tent and my legs that first night that I couldn't get the cramps out of them. You know how usually you can move, but then the other leg would cramp up. And it was just, but then, you know, just like, you know, the second day is better, the third day is better. And then by like day 4, you feel like you were born there. And it'd be nice if you could start there, but it's like that on every trip. I don't care how much. Well, maybe you train hard enough to, but it's so hard to mimic that, the steepness and the, you know, the footholds and the weight, and it's so hard to mimic that in training that you have to actually just get up there and suffer for the first couple days and get your legs and your altitude, and then you can conquer it.
I'm the same. That country just shocks the body, and the body will adapt to the stress you put on it. But up in that country, yeah, it's just grueling. And that the elevation is an equalizer, and then also the weight on your back, like carrying your camp. Like I think you know, that's one of the coolest ways to be able to hunt is with your camp on your back. Like it just feels like one of the truest forms of hunting, you know, like it's just so primitive that you can only get there, you know, on your 2 legs and with what you can carry. I just love that style of hunting. And but it does shock the body. And even, you know, hunting these high country mule deer, yeah, it's a shock to the system when you get up there and start climbing that elevation and you strap that pack on for the first day or 2. And yeah, you sure sleep good at night. And like you say, slowly but surely your body starts to get used to it. But that's just awesome, man. What a great adventure. Good for you. Going again next year?
No. No, I'll try and get out west though somewhere next year. I don't know exactly where.
Yeah, you hunt out west quite a bit, huh?
Yeah, we like to go out elk hunting. We hunt both public and private, and Colorado, Montana. We talked about we used to hunt. It's been a few years now since they changed the tag draw, but we hunted the Missouri breaks a lot in Montana out there, and I don't want everybody to go up there and hunt the breaks because that's really amazing country. It's I think people underestimate the breaks too. There's massive giant animals there. Well, bighorns. I think there's something in the soil because they grow big antlers out there. Mm-hmm. That's the only place I've ever seen bulls that were pushing upper 3s to maybe even 400 inches. Mm-hmm. Never shot one, but seen them. And that country, even though it's not mountainous, it is tough country. I mean, it is dry, it's loose, it's steep, and it's big. It's way bigger than, it's hard to believe those are just drainages that started out with rainwater and made their way toward the Missouri River. It's unbelievable, but I really love hunting that country.
Oh, you had the same love for it that I do. Yeah, it's wild country. They do grow everything big out there, including rattlesnakes and spiders and big bulls and but yeah, it's its own ecosystem out there, which is really wild. And you do, like, it's not mountainous terrain, but that's almost part of the challenge is you can't tell what the good feeding features are, bedding features. Like, it's just all good country. It's 300 square miles of good country. And so, like, you just have to work your way through that country and find out where those animals, you know, are congregating in through there. And it can be different from year to year. And they do have places that they prefer, you know, year after year, but it just changes. Like they seem to be nomadic in that country and really move through it and adapt to wherever they end up. And in that country, like you say, it's not huge mountains where you're climbing 3,000 vertical feet, but man, you can wear yourself out in that country. We call it coulee humping. And if you don't take the right way into country using the ridge lines, and you come out, maybe it's foggy or you come out a different way, you can end up going up and down 25 different coulees to make it back to where your vehicle is, or back to a road, or back to a main ridge line where then you can cover country. So like navigating through that country is so crucial, you know. But yeah, it's tough. They're high pressure elk, which they're really switched on. They're like closer to probably an antelope, or a way an antelope acts, than an elk sometimes. You know, when you get to hunting those high pressure elk, they just act different, and they know humans are after them, and they know that humans are danger, and so they really look out for you. They use their eyesight more than other elk, it seems like they can really pick out a human figure from miles away. So it's definitely got its own challenges, and there's a lot of great places to hunt elk, but that place is definitely special, and it's its own experience hunting elk. So I'm glad you got to have the same love for it that I do.
Are you surprised at how many elk use that sagebrush country out there?
Yeah, they'll use that wide open terrain, won't they?
Yeah, and you wouldn't even know it unless you got out there in the dark and heard them out in that sagebrush, because it's empty during the day, but that's the first experience I ever had with elk that weren't living in, you know, heavy cover, whatever you want to call it, down in those coulees or up in the mountains. And I mean, I think it's because there's water because of the cattle, and there's grass, and it goes back to that, you know, that old saying is, you know, follow the food. That's where those elk are going to be. But I absolutely love that country. And actually, that was talk about you know, just that's a good place for somebody to, if you want to see elk. It's very good for glassing. I mean, I like the fact that there's not a lot of places you can't see. It's one of those places you can set up and glass and look over a lot of country. Problem is that they're buried down in a lot of that country too, so you don't always see them up top or in the openings and that kind of thing. But yeah, really, love getting out west, and look forward to it every fall. To me, it really recharges the batteries. I don't know, you guys live out there, so you probably can't appreciate that, but for us, there's something special about even driving out there, you know, and seeing those wide open spaces. I don't know what it does, but it definitely puts some hop back in your step when you come back east here.
Man, that's super cool. Yeah, it does. Like it's I'm so fortunate to be able to live out here and experience it all the time, but to have that time to really go challenge yourself in the mountains or in the prairies or in the breaks is special. And I feel that same way. Like everywhere I drive across the West has like a different feeling as I'm driving it, and just try to enjoy it from start to finish. But I can hear your experience as you talk about that country. Like, it is nice being more open terrain. You can glass a lot of it, but you're right, you don't see all the elk in it. They like to be in those folds and be in those draws, and you can't see everything from one spot. You almost got to just go work your way through that country and look at it all and bump into them. And man, and reading I love reading Lewis and Clark's journal, like about the Missouri breaks, and they talk about like they actually talk about grizzly bears in there, but they talk about the mosquitoes and how evil the mosquitoes were. And if you ever hit the brakes on a bad mosquito year, like it's great hunting because nobody leaves their vehicle or their camp to go hunt because the mosquitoes are so thick they just dang near want to carry you off. But reading Lewis and Clark's journal about the Missouri breaks, I can really relate to what they're talking about. You know, that talking about that country and about the folds and about the animal life, like it hasn't changed much in all these years. You know, it's still so similar. But yeah, that's awesome. You have that same love for the West that I do, and you get to experience different parts of it. You say you hunt Colorado and hunt Montana and hunt private and hunt public. I think it's like private gets us such good access to good quality hunting as well. And a lot of times I'd wear that badge on my sleeve of hunting public because it is tough with pressured animals and higher pressure. But the reality of the situation is private land offers some really good hunting. And what I love most about hunting is like the action, being able to get into one of those rut fests where those bulls are bugling like crazy, and like where you're seeing those giant bulls that you talk about in the high 3s or the 4s. And that's one of the things that private land, if you get the right place, will give you access to, is to be able to drive from Wisconsin to Montana or to Colorado and be able to put yourself in one of the very best elk spots to go experience it, because you only have a week or you only have 10 days, where I have, the entire season or whatever. So, man, it's just super cool, Jason.
Yeah, and there's a stark contrast between public and private out there for sure. And that's really why we started going to private a little bit more, is because eventually you do want to see what it's really all about. You want to see those big herds of elk, and it definitely doesn't mean you can still kill the one you're after. That's for sure. There's no guarantee, but at least it like you said, you get to see it. And that's funny you should say that, because if you think about it, I don't know, you kind of over the years you kind of start to forget about a lot of the experiences that you have until you really sit down or something reminds you of an experience, and then you can go back and say, oh yeah, I did that. And but that on that sheep trip, actually pulling the trigger on that sheep was so anticlimactic. It was amazing. I don't even remember it, to be honest with you. How sad is that? You look forward to that for 30 years, and then you do it and you can't even remember that part of it. But on the other hand, that's kind of a good thing. And it kind of says something about, what really matters. It's not so much the killing of anything. It's all those experiences that you put together over time. I mean, I got a lot more experiences of animals that I didn't kill that are super cool, that, than ones that I did kill that were super cool. So, I think that's how you have to approach that, especially with something as tough as tackling, the Northwest Territories or tackling public land, mule deer or elk. You better get off on the experience and not the actual harvest, or it's going to be like golf after a while. You never get better at it, and you hate yourself.
You're so spot on, Jason. I love that. You can't fall in love with the success. You have to fall in love with the process. Like, you better enjoy the entire adventure because you're not going to have success all the time. It's not going to happen every hunt. And also, that's a very small fleeting moment of the entire experience. And so to enjoy the entire process is to enjoy the adventure. And so I think that's a good thing. You don't remember pulling the trigger. You remember everything else about the Northwest Territories. I think that's beautiful, man.
Yeah, I do not remember it.
Yeah. Well, super cool, man. Jason, I really enjoyed chatting with you. I'm really excited about this partnership. So, guys, make sure to go check it out at Forever Barnwood. And Jason, we'll keep in touch. I'm sure I'll have an order into you here shortly for Barney Construction. And if you need anything from me, make sure to let me know.
I really appreciate it, Brian. You take care.
Thanks.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. thanks again to Jason for being on the podcast and for supporting the podcast. I really appreciate them over there at Forever Barnwood, and man, I'm going to be using a bunch of their products. And the homes I'm building, personal home, it's just such a quality look and quality product. So thanks again for his support of the podcast and everything at Eastmans, and really looking forward to trying out some of his stuff. So thanks again to Eastmans for their support of the podcast. Make sure to check out everything we do, from internet TV show to the show on the Outdoor Channel, the magazines, and also Eastman's Tag Hub. And man, with that, just in the throes of winter here in Montana, it hasn't been too bad. It's actually been pretty decent, like getting up into the 30s during the day. And it kind of, the cold weather ebbs and flows in and through here. As high pressure moves in and moves out, and we get a cold front, and but yeah, it's just part of it, living in Montana. But enjoying it, getting good exercise, out running the trails that I can. It's mostly lowland stuff this time of year, so lowland grass country, but I really enjoy it. Had a great one yesterday with the dog. Ran in a new spot, and it's not very often, like, I get to travel around Montana and find new spots, like, wherever I go, but around my home area, it doesn't happen too often where I get to go to a new spot, so that's always fun. But yeah, just been getting in my training and enjoying the entire process, enjoying putting in the work in these units right now and applications, and enjoying getting my workouts. Been spending a bunch of time with my bow, getting that thing absolutely dialed, just loving that new V3X. That thing is shooting. So, dialing in that thing and getting some work done and getting ready for another season. So fun to start planning the adventures, playing with the possibilities. I think that's part of the funnest thing. I think that's like a gambler, right? When you putting in for draws, and I just part of the fun for me is picturing drawing that hunt and being able to go do it. So yeah, we'll hopefully Lady Luck's on my side this year for the drawings, and hopefully she's on your side too. There's a bunch of opportunities out there in units, and as long as I'm hunting somewhere, I'll be a happy man. But boy, it sure would be nice to pull one of those lotto tickets. So pretty cool stuff. So getting applied there, and enjoying time with my family, and daughter's senior year here, so it's gonna go by quick. So enjoying that, and just making the most out of it, Montana winter. So thanks a bunch for the support, you guys. I appreciate it. I will be at the expo here in about a week or so. So hopefully see some of you guys there, and hopefully get some good recorded podcasts there. So going to be on my game. There's just so many great hunters that are there, and it's so fun to sit down, with these guys and have these in-depth conversations. So going to try to get a few good recordings done. So thanks a bunch, you guys, for the support. I really appreciate it. And with that, I'll check in with you next week.